My name is Daryl Harrison, Senior Director of Global Communications and Social Media at ChargePoint.
So, how long has ChargePoint been in business for?
So ChargePoint opened its doors in 2007, and we've grown tremendously over the last 12 years. So I actually started at ChargePoint in December of 2016 when we had 200 employees and about 30,000 places to charge. Today, we have more than 106,000 places to charge and operate in 2 continents with more than 750 employees. So this market is growing dramatically, and we're right on the front lines, and it's exciting.
Does it feel like every time you open up another charge point that you're still behind the game? Like it's like there's too many cars going out the door for how many spots there are?
You know, it's interesting. So we grow just ahead of the market in general. So what we're finding is that businesses, governments, fleets are starting to notice electrification. They see it coming, and they're actually starting to act to be able to either deploy charging, create policies that actually make it more seamless for people to go electric, or businesses or developers to actually be able to enable charging. And we're actually seeing demand at record levels. I mean, consumer demand for EVs right now is through the roof, and it's evidence in the fact that, you know, before Model 3 came out, they had the most pre-orders of any production car on the market. You have Volkswagen in Europe who has pre-orders that are past 30,000. I mean, you're seeing automakers introduce cars and people actually put deposits down to get them. So, you know, our growth has been tremendous. When I started at the beginning or at the end of 2016, we averaged we grew at about 600 places to charge per month. Today, we grow at about 2,000 places to charge per month. So growth is there, and it's indicative of what's happening in the market.
You know, as EVs become more affordable, people who don't necessarily live in a house with a garage can afford an EV. I think this creates a huge opportunity for a company like yourselves. Can you talk about multifamily homes, apartment complexes, destination charging, all these different areas where you folks can really tap in to where you already have a service?
Absolutely. So charging takes place about 80% of the time at work or at home. It's basically where your car is going to be anyway. And so as a result of that, you know, we've worked with workplaces quite a bit to be able to deploy charging so that employees, as they come to work, it's another benefit and another incentive to either work at a company or actually to be recruited into that company. For home, obviously we're here today with the ChargePoint Home Flex. If you have a dedicated parking spot or a dedicated garage space to be able to charge it, there's actually another product which is based on the ChargePoint Home Flex, which is called the CPF 50, which is the same platform of a product. The difference is that you can actually use RFID and other ways to authenticate a unique charger. So if you're a multifamily property, you would deploy this, and if a new resident comes in and you have a bank of these at your parking location, then you can assign an account for them, and then they can use their unique credential to be able to charge. So if you want to charge for charging, or if there's some sort of cost associated, or if a user just wants to know how much they've used in terms of energy, you'd be able to actually separate that and be able to use it. Now, the other solution is we work with a number of different businesses that actually want to deploy charging because it's an amenity for a retail location or for some other location. And so we actually have a commercial product that, again, would allow somebody to tap in to be able to use the station. And as a station owner, I manage the deployment of the charging. I can set pricing for the charging, but I don't have to worry about the back end. The information is in a platform that we create for them. They have all of the tools and resources to be able to allocate how much energy has been used, where they should deploy charging, what kind of utilization they're getting, et cetera.
When you guys look at locations, because there's so many options, what are you, is it more finding a partner who's willing to work with you, be it a grocery store or whatever, or do you try to find a place where someone might be sitting down for 20 minutes, like a restaurant or a hotel? Like, how do you go about deciding, because there's so many options for you folks, how do you allocate the resources the best you can?
So I think I'm going to take a half step back. So our business model is kind of like Airbnb. So we have one of the world's largest charging networks, but the overwhelming majority of them are owned by a business, a fleet, or some other entity. And the reason for that is because workplaces, retail locations, fleets are realizing the value and the benefit of driving electric. And they're actually coming to us, and we're working with them on figuring out what the best application is for whatever use case they're trying to solve for. When you look at corridor charging or longer distance charging, ChargePoint, we work with states, we work with agencies, we work with businesses and other entities that are actually developing models where they actually deploy fast charging and create a service for a driver to be able to tap into it. In those cases, we do have teams that actually do look for locations or partners or businesses where drivers are stopping anyway. And the reality is that if you look at, especially for destination, but if you look at gas stations, if you look at hotels, if you look at a number of different types of businesses, a lot of that work is already done. So if you are a business that is along a well-traveled corridor, the reality is that you already know that people stop at your business, and if you have a parking lot, you're probably thinking, what other ways can I attract people to my business? I'm going to install charging as one of those. If I'm we even have partner site hosts and customers at our gas stations that say, oh, I'm already fueling cars that are driving along an interstate. I'm going to install charging to actually make my portfolio of options even more dynamic. And the reality is that if you look at people that are along these destination routes, they're looking for ways to not only attract business, but actually keep people there longer because they know people are going to buy retail, they're going to rent a room, etc. When you're looking at around town, because most of the charging happens at a retail location or where you are anyway, at home or at work, the reality is that those folks tend to want to add charging because they know their customers want it or their customers are demanding it. And so that's actually something that, again, we can help them determine, like, this is the application that works best for you, this is the software solution, etc.
I can tell you from a consumer standpoint, as a user standpoint, one thing that I love, one app feature that I love about it is that it tells you if a spot is available or you can reserve the spot. He talked about how important that is because there's so many EVs out there, especially in SoCal to San Francisco, how important it is to have that peace of mind that you know when you get there you're going to have a spot.
Absolutely. Well, and I think that's actually, I'm going to take another half step back, because I think that actually speaks to the benefit of a connected fueling solution. I mean, nowadays you can't open up an app and look for a gas station and say, well, is somebody in there? Is it down? Is it closed? So having a connected solution is so beneficial in that it allows you to be able to find out where a station is located, if it's available or if it's not, and you can navigate to it and actually charge. The waitlist feature that you're referring to is actually really, really beneficial. So if you are at a workplace or a retail location where you have a lot of traffic, you're able to actually go on the app and you're actually able to save your spot in line. And now we actually have a list. So if you're on the app, you can actually see where you are in the list or where you are in the list of people waiting. And so you can determine how much time it's going to take or decide whether you want to go somewhere else, etc. So that actually enhances the fueling experience like tenfold at least.
I can tell you as a Tesla user and being at the superchargers, it's a nightmare because it's like anarchy at times. A rush hour at a supercharger.
Yeah, well, right, and that's the thing, right? But I mean, that's the beauty of it, right? So like, charging infrastructure, whether it be at ChargePoint or other companies, is growing at a clip that is at least commensurate, if not faster than the amount of cars that are hitting the market. And so a lot of the growing pains that we're feeling today are being quickly alleviated because more places to charge are showing up. There's more customers, there's more businesses that want to be part of this kind of shift in mobility. So a lot of the things that you see today are changing, and the benefit, again, the thing about a supercharger network, just like a ChargePoint network or any other network on the market, is that you can go somewhere and actually see, like, is it full today? Is there somewhere else nearby that's not as full? And you can actually make the decision to go where there's more availability.
And kind of getting back to affordability, you just announced this home product.
Yes.
How much does it cost?
That's right. So it starts at, it is $700. And the reason that I qualified it is because the ChargePoint Home Flex is actually one model. There's no extra cord length, there's no extra features, it's all in that one package. And the benefit there is this: if you drive a first generation EV, there are some that would only allow you to charge up to 16 amps. And if you have this car, that's probably fast enough. If you bought a home charger to accommodate that 16 amp charging speed, and you bought a Tesla Model 3, which charges up to 48 amps, then you would probably have to take that out and add a new charger or just be content with charging at 16 amps. The benefit with Flex is that you're paying $700, but if you have a 16 amp car that will accept 16 amps today and buy another car in the future, you can just adjust the amperage to be able to accommodate that additional charging speed. The other element is your home infrastructure. If you live in an older house like I do, that was built in the 30s, they replaced the panel back in the 50s. If I want to charge a Tesla, I'm going to have to upgrade the panel, right? And having a charging station that would just be able to accommodate my current infrastructure situation wouldn't be beneficial, because in the future there's going to be more EVs that allow for higher amperage. And I want to be able to have the flexibility and be able to future-proof that, so I don't have to worry about ripping out an old charger and replacing it with a new one.
No, it makes a lot of sense, and it's super affordable. So like on the commercial side, how do companies reach out to you? And like, because I think there's a lot of small businesses that have parking lots.
That's right. Yeah, so I mean, the easiest way is to go to our website, chargepoint.com. We have a resource center that's available for companies that either just want to know about charging in general or want to know specifically about ChargePoint. We actually have a pretty big team of salespeople, business development people that are actually looking for opportunities and helping to not only inform and give people the information that they need, but also educate them on what's happening in the market. We're a group of passionate EV driving people, so we're not only looking at what's happening at ChargePoint, we're looking at what's happening in the market, because the reality is there's a ton of opportunity. One of the biggest opportunities for us is not only our businesses that want to deploy charging or multifamily residences, but really fleets. You know, fleet is probably going to be one of the largest business opportunities in charging and in EV in general, because fleets purchase vehicles on a practical level, right? And EVs provide this tremendous opportunity to be able to cut costs, improve efficiency, improve sustainability, and that's really, really enticing to a lot of companies and a lot of fleet operators.
So on a broader scale, what inning of the EV revolution do you think we're in?
Oh, that's a good question. That's a good question. I'm actually going to put my Daryl hat on for a second, because in 2008 and 9, I remember working on the Leaf prototype drives before the first generation Leaf went on sale. I remember 2014 when the e-Golf went on sale in the United States, and I was working at Volkswagen. And had you asked me when I first started working at ChargePoint, I'd say like we're in the 4th inning, because in a year or two there's going to be tons of models. I'm realizing, being at ChargePoint kind of at the ground level, having a front row seat of what's happening, I'm realizing that there is so much more that's coming. And to use your analogy, I would say we're probably not at the 7th inning stretch. We're probably not even at the 3rd inning at this point. I think we're just starting the game. And the exciting part is that, you know, within the next 1 to 3 years, no less than 50 new models are going to hit the market, and that's really going to change the game.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.